Welcome y'all, Debo in the house. Today we are talking about how to transform anger into healthy expression. If you are dealing with repressed anger, or you're actively angry, or you simply don't know how to fully express yourself in a good way, in a clear way, you are in the right place. In this video, we will go through 4 steps of how to transform your anger into healthy expression. Anger is a very important emotion that we can learn how to use in a healthy way, right? So that we're not overly reactive, right? Like Chuck Norris chopping everybody, or like the Zen monk who is repressing their anger because it's bad to feel angry. And we must have compassion for everyone, right? And yet not learning how to stand up for ourselves in a neutral, balanced way. So it's from this place of patience and compassion that a firmness, that a healthy anger can be expressed. Step number 1 is radical responsibility, meaning we take responsibility for our energy and our reaction. So if you find yourself making enemies out of your friends, your family members, and whipping yourself up into a these stories, right? It's important to take responsibility in what is my role in this dynamic and relationship, right? And getting really clear on what needs are not being met, right? Oftentimes, because we're disconnected, maybe we're on our phones too much, we don't have an embodiment practice, we're not even aware or conscious of our needs for safety, for nourishment, for whatever, right? So before we react to something, taking a few minutes to assess where we are, what needs aren't being met right now. This need isn't being met, and I'm realizing that I'm expecting my partner or friend to just know my needs without me actually expressing it. Now I'm holding a little bit of resentment over the last few months because I'm not telling them, I would really like you to cook a meal for me a few nights a week. I'm busy as fuck. Can you please help me out, right? But those little things, right? They say that straw that broke the camel's back. It's those little things over time, over years, are like, wow, I have so much resentment because I haven't asked for the things that I need. And vice versa, right? So, especially in partnerships, you may find this underlying tension, right? Raise your hand if you feel that sometimes there's an underlying tension in your relationship, whether it's a friend or a partner, right? So it's when I feel that underlying tension, right, I get curious. So this first step is getting curious. So, what is this tension about? Is there a need that's not being met from my friend? Like, I feel there's some tension on your heart, my friend. What's there? Let's share. Let's have some tea and share what's alive in your heart today. So over time, with taking responsibility, we're going to learn to listen to ourselves and to our relationships. Step 2, deep listening. So this cultivation of deep listening, it's not a practice that's normal in our culture because our culture prioritizes talking and speaking over rather than listening and being with. So this practice of deep listening comes from our ability to self-regulate, to breathe, to feel, to calm down. And now we're listening not only to our needs, but also to the needs of our community, to the space, right? And from that listening, we can notice when there's a disturbance in the force. So in this second step of deep listening, right, I think it's important to remember we can't go too quickly to compassion, right? So if anger is a spectrum, right, you have frustration, anger, rage, right, resentment, right? There's these agitation, right? Agitation, frustration. So there's this arc, right, of anger. And when we start to listen inward to our needs and our desires, if we spiritually bypass and go too quickly to compassion, right, which I've done myself, or I see in spiritual communities, it's like, yeah, I totally, I have compassion for you, but actually I didn't express what actually was needed to express. So there's a really important piece that I want you to feel empowered to, and it doesn't have to come out in an angry way. So as an example, it's like, Frank, I realize I didn't express to you the importance of X, Y, or Z and my need for safety. And I realized I didn't tell you that. I didn't tell you that before, and I'm taking responsibility for not telling you what I needed in that moment. And so I just want to clear the air and let you know that, that kind of hurt me, what happened. And I know that it's not your fault. I'm taking responsibility for my energy and my reaction, and I've been stewing in some frustration and anger, and I'm here to just free that up. So you can feel through the tone, there's no attacking energy, right? It's like, I'm just sharing this, I'm feeling some anger, and I'm just letting it air out without piercing my friend and being like, you did this, how could you not know, right? Like there's these weird ways that we, and I've seen it with particularly the feminine in my life, right? Of this passive aggressive kind of undercutting. And whether you're a man or a woman, right? If we don't know how to express ourselves, it turns into passive aggressive behavior that is beating around the bush and is such a huge waste of energy. It takes a lot of energy to repress anger, a lot of big chi to repress those frustrations. That then once you create safety and neutrality and you can express those things, wow, oh, whoo, liberated. Wow, and I don't have to punch through a wall or make my wife or my mom an enemy, right? The moment I start creating an enemy out of my loved ones, I stop, I pause, right? The moment I start envisioning, these, it's their fault, and this we call shame and blame. Shame and blame, right? Now I'm the victim. And so I want you to take your power back, right? And take radical responsibility for your emotions and your feelings. And when your feelings are so valid, your sadness, your anger, your joy, just breathe that in for a moment. You have full permission to feel these emotions. And you don't need to act on those emotions. Just give yourself permission to feel them. Let them breathe. And sometimes I'll journal on these exact topics, right? To help clear my psychic energy, to clear my mind, and to take responsibility. That takes us to step 3, which is how to move this anger, how to express it in a healthy way. The first thing is moving your body, right? Sweating, some exercise, some vigorous movement, right? That can be a run, that can be weightlifting, it can be many things. It can be some hard Qigong style, right? Where you're breathing and flexing your muscles and really engaging, right? Opening your eyes and your face, right? To kind of liberate that stagnant liver chi, liberate some of that stagnant emotion through your body. And if you're interested in the descriptions below, there is a link to that specific practice. So healthy tools to move it from your body. And you will notice a shift, you'll notice a difference once you clear some of that adrenaline and cortisol, right? And if you are in the middle of your day, as an example, and maybe you get stressed out, emails, phone calls, right? Maybe you have a tiff with your partner, or you get into a little something, right? Sometimes that's not the best time to express yourself, right in the heat of the moment, right? It takes practice. So in that kind of heat of the moment, I'll slow my breath down and just kind of say, what's mine? Why am I getting so triggered right now? What's this deeper frustration? What's here? What's underneath the anger? Let me listen in the moment before I just start defending or attacking, right? I'm gonna gather myself, right? And so going back to that step 2, let me listen in and slow down before I just express, right? Right? So this is the practice, the learning, right? So having that patience and compassion with yourself in the moment, and then say at the end of the day, you're like, honey, homie, I was feeling a little agitated from our conversation earlier in the day or yesterday, and I would love to just share with you, and kind of, so it's like both of you now are looking at this event together, kind of integrating what happened instead of looking at each other as the source of the problem, right? So we're tuning into the field and having compassion for each other and for the situation. Wow, we both got triggered. Most likely it was some childhood stuff, right? There were some triggers, some old traumas came up. Okay, but that's what we're here for. We're here to liberate these old wounds in a safe place, right? So creating that safety is really key. And so, as an example, let's put it into practice. Say I get in an argument with a friend, a family member. I'm upset, I'm pissed off. Maybe a day or two goes by. I'm like, ooh, I need to practice. So I do my vigorous practice, right? I spend whatever, 10, 15, 20 minutes sweating, getting it out. And then I come to a place of stillness and I realize, this is where I need to take responsibility. Oh, here's where I'm upset. You know, so I just get clear in my own place about my needs. I get clear in myself. I express that energy through my own practice first. The final step, this 4-step compassion, I've already been riffing into. Now we come to a place of peace and we can have compassion for ourselves and for the people in our life, and a bit more patience as well. So reviewing those 4 steps: radical responsibility, deep listening, how to express our anger in a healthy way through movement, and 4, coming back to compassion. In closing, I invite you to put this into practice. Leave a comment below. I'm excited to hear your journey with transforming anger into healthy expression. Feel free to share this with a friend, a family member. Like it, do all those lovely things, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for your time.